Do you want to fill some of those?
I'm good, thanks.
All right. Good to go? All right. Ethan, you want to kick it off? Yeah.
Sure, yeah. I am on script because I'm best on script. So, welcome everyone. Thank you for showing up tonight and for demonstrating your support of the Middlebury Skatepark. I'm going to kick things off with a few team introductions and a very brief project background and timeline before turning things over to the Town of Middlebury and Line Skateparks to officially begin the skate park design process. Woo. My name is Ethan Murphy, and this is Jill Quackenbush, and we represent the Middlebury Skatepark Project. Phyllis and Michelle round out our board officers, and if I can have all MSP board members, current and former, hold up a hand. We are the Middlebury Skatepark Project. We are an all-volunteer nonprofit based in Middlebury, and you can think of us as the Friends of group in this equation. Next, I want to introduce Emily Sherrington, the Director of Engineering for the Department of Public Works. Emily is the project manager on this project and represents the Town of Middlebury. Emily manages huge projects like Middlebury's future wastewater treatment upgrade and small projects like this skate park. We're very lucky to have her extensive knowledge and experience to lead us through this process. I also want to introduce Scott Bourne, the Director of Parks and Recreation, a longtime partner of the project with the Town of Middlebury. The Town of Middlebury is the client in this equation, and the Middlebury Skatepark Project is working in support of the Town of Middlebury. Next up is Chris Long, civil designer with Line Skateparks. The Town of Middlebury and the Middlebury Skatepark Project selected Line Skateparks from a truly impressive list of professional skatepark design firms that bid on the project. Line has over 24 years of experience designing and building incredible skate parks all over the country and all over the world. And Chris represents a talented team of dedicated designers and engineers that are going to deliver an amazing design for Middlebury. Line Skateparks are the professional skate park design firm in the skate park equation. Together, we are the team that will bring a contemporary concrete skate park to Middlebury. But we can't do it without you. And we haven't reached this major milestone without your support. So we would like to take a moment to acknowledge that support. And I'll hand it over to Jill.
That's my job. I'm Jill. Thanks everyone for coming to the first design meeting. I bet that most of you here have donated, attended one of our events, hosted an event, donated raffle prizes, gone to a meetup or a camp, or contributed in some other way to the skate park effort and to build our wheeled sports community, which is important too. So thank you to everyone who's contributed in some way. We specifically like to shout out the following who have made significant monetary contributions toward the cost of skate park design: the Town of Middlebury, the Parks and Recreation budget, the Vermont Community Foundation, the Town of Cornwall, St. Stephen's Episcopal Church, Note and Two Brothers Tavern, American Flatbread Middlebury, the Congregational Church of Middlebury, and the Rotary Club of Middlebury. So thank you. And in addition, late last year we launched a campaign to raise kind of the last gap of funding for design, and we reached out to the business community, and they showed up for us in a big way. So we'd like to give a huge shout out to our lead design sponsor, Cooperative Insurance Companies. Is Lee here? He said he might show, but thank you to Cooperative. And then our other design sponsors, which you can see on the posters out by the food: Silver Maple Construction, Nino's Pizza, Frog Hollow Bike Shop, Red House Building, Flora Cannabis, Taekwondo Kicks, thank you Master Kelly, the Vermont Bookshop, Murphy Builders, and Scott Stewart. And so it's a total of 20 businesses that responded to our request for donations, so it was great to get such a positive response. We'd also like to thank Otter Creek Engineering for donating a site survey to the project and for their continued involvement in the design process. Let's see, who else do we have? There we are. I found the right page. Thank you to the Middlebury shop for purchasing and reselling our shirts. They buy the shirts from us up front when we have them printed, which help us not only with fundraising, but so that we don't have to lug big bins of shirts around whenever we go to an event. So we can just send people there. So that's been awesome. So thank you to Daniel McIntosh. Thank you to the many artists who helped us raise over $14,000 in our skate deck auction, and for Note for hosting our fall fundraiser for the last 3 years. Thanks to photographers that have contributed their skills and photos, including Stephen James, who took the picture of Carrie and Brer on the mini ramp that's on our posters. Caleb Kenna, whose photographs of Middlebury and Recreation Park we're always eager to use. And Corey Hendrickson, who took the amazing portraits that are out in the lobby. Thank you to American Flatbread for the food and Hannaford's for the seltzer. We feel very humbled and grateful to have such amazing support from this community. So thank you for supporting in whatever way you can. So thank you. I'm done.
And I kick back in for a second here. So we've also been invited to touch on the project background and project timeline. So I'll just say really briefly that we have been at this for over 4 years now. We are incredibly excited to be working with the Town of Middlebury and new Line Skateparks and to be at this exciting stage in the process. At the end of this months-long design process, we will have a completed design and full construction documents in hand, a current and accurate estimate of construction costs, and incredible momentum to reach the fundraising finish line that is skate park construction. So with that, do I see, let's see, Devin? Is Devin here?
No.
There's Devin. So we're going to hold off on that because I left him in the car. But we're supposed to have an exciting moment right now where we gave out some skate decks. So I'm going to go get those, and I'm going to let Chris and Emily take over, and then Devin's going to give out a couple skate decks.
All right, so that's incentive to make it through my meeting without falling asleep. And if you do, you get some decks. All right, well, thanks everyone for a warm welcome. This, I can already tell, is an awesome community, and I'm so excited to be up here with this team today and in front of everyone here in this community. Ethan has told me that you all have almost had 50 meetings already, including the skate park, and that is really incredible and dedicated for all of you, so congratulations to everyone for getting it. So my name is Chris, and I'm a civil engineer that has been designing skate parks for 10 years with New Line Skateparks. Today I'm going to run a workshop with y'all to essentially get some information about what it is exactly that you want in your skate park. What we'll do is a few introductions about my team and then some backgrounds about skate parks, generally how they work, what modern skate parks are doing right now. We'll have share some information about the site and the project that we've already investigated. And then we're going to break down into a group charrette exercise where we can really, have some fun and all decide together kind of what this skate park wants to look and feel like and what's most important to y'all. We'll do some democracy exercises with the boards that we have printed out tonight. And at the end, we'll come all back together and discuss kind of what the top priorities are and hopefully walk away with some consensus today, kind of as a whole project team. So just before we really get started, some guidelines for the meeting today. I want everyone to be respectful of what everyone else is saying here. Today is about sharing all of our ideas, whether they work out, whether they don't. I want to know kind of what those things are that inspire you, that you really want in this skate park. And we're all here to support each other in this community, so let's be respectful and make sure that everyone's really heard. A little bit of background about my team. I have a civil engineering background, but my team is made up of engineers, landscape architects, landscape designers, and a ton of skateboarders, even some people that don't skateboard but are really inspired by what happens in these facilities, like I imagine some of y'all are just as community members. So our team is full of professionals with backgrounds in all kinds of different stuff, and we all put those skills together to build the best facilities that we can that are long-lasting and really well fit to each community that we work in. There are some photos of kind of the process that we go through, whether it's a sketch kind of hand and paper exercise, and then really detailed CAD work into renderings and then into construction. We'll be involved for the whole process and are looking forward to really seeing out this vision. A little bit about kind of our process. We are at phase 1 of this project, and this is community input meeting number 1. What that means is this is the time when I'm here to hear everything that you have for input about this skate park. I'm here to listen to those things. So is the whole public network of TV. And we want to make sure that we're getting all that input on paper today and then also online for the next 2 weeks. The second part of this first phase will be a second meeting where we'll bring to you some concepts, and that will be us saying, this is what we thought we heard from you, and here are a few options. And that's your opportunity to say, you guys weren't listening, we need to go this direction instead, or, option 3 is the way to go, and that really speaks to us. So we'll have that kind of second set of input for y'all to weigh in on and really make sure that we're going the right direction. And then we'll present the final concept, which will also be an opportunity for everyone to just see what we've all done together and have any last comments. Maybe they're minor, maybe they're colors, maybe they're materials. And that'll wrap up our concept design process, and we'll have something that will be really inspired for what the skate park is going to be that we've all decided together. From there, we'll get into a detailed design phase, which we're currently working toward. And that will include really refining the design, making sure from an engineering, elevation, drainage perspective, everything works. And we'll come up with construction documents at the end of that, which will essentially be buildable. After that, we'll enter a fundraising phase where we'll make sure that what we've built can be bid on and built by a qualified contractor. And after we secure all the funding, it will go out to bid, and then a qualified contractor will build the project. At that point, I'll still be involved. And make sure that it's built right, because that's really the most important part, to make sure that what we all need gets done correctly. And then there's the grand opening, and then y'all can enjoy the space. So I'll start by talking about skate parks in general. What are these spaces? They're not just the paved section behind the grocery store anymore that gets tucked in the corner. These are vibrant community assets that are not just for skateboarders, they're for everyone that wants to use wheels. And they're also for community members. They want to enjoy that space too, whether it's family, friends, neighbors. And they can look very different. So there's different terrain styles like you see on the screen, different sizes, scales, different flow. So that's what we're here to start picking apart and extracting out of everyone, is what this skate park is going to look and feel like. And why do you go to the skate park? It could be because it's part of your routine nightly walk, and you walk by and want to enjoy the community. It could be a space for you to use as a creative outlet because you have a lot of stress at work or at school. There's so many different people that use the skate park for different reasons, and we want it to be accommodating to everyone who wants to be in that space and have it feel welcome for them. Let's see. And then who works on these skate parks? Like I mentioned, there's a whole host of professionals that are going to be involved in this team, from stormwater engineers to surveyors, lighting, and well, I guess not lighting engineers for this, but in general, we'll have every part of this project will be thought through by a professional, geotechnical engineers, and then people that are really experienced in skate parks. So it takes a whole host of proficient team members to pull this to life. To get into a little bit more detail about what skate parks can look like, here are 4 typologies that generalize what types of skate parks there are out there. So on the top left, you have a plaza style, which essentially simulates the built environment that you would find in a downtown area. It could be similar to the blocks out front of this building, feel really natural and like it's the built environment, but built for skateboarding. Then there's a street course, which is going to have some elements that are going to, you can pop off of, jump up and jump down, handrails, banks, still driven from like street-oriented elements, but a little bit higher speed. Then there's transitional elements like bowls, half pipes, mini ramps, things that where you generate your speed from the element itself. It can feel more like surfing, it can feel more like snowboarding, it's faster and smooth. And then there's everything in between. And then the last one that we can talk about is kind of a pump and carve type transitional terrain style, which will be generating your speed through an organic kind of course, whether it's bumps, rollers, berms, and it's just really on the flowy side and less on the technical side. So we can talk about a spectrum between those 4 type of elements and which one we want to be predominant in the skate park, or if it wants to be a combination of certain ones. The other thing I'll talk a lot about today is flow. You can see these blue arrows really identify where people go when they're using this space. They're connecting element to element, they're picking lines through bowls, through corners and straight walls. And what's really nice about something like this is that the lines don't cross. So if you want to pick your line, you don't want to have to worry about someone else crossing your line while you're engaging in that trick. We're also thinking about staging areas where spectator seating can be. We're thinking about all of the things that want to make this space feel comfortable for you to just be in the space, and then also to use the features effectively. So as I go through these example skate parks, you'll see some of those elements. And I'll go through these quickly, but I want y'all to see these so that you can see what things really speak to you and kind of inspire a vision for this skate park. They'll range from different terrain styles like this one, where it's essentially split 60-40, the street on the right and then the bowl on the left. And you can see how those zones are really well defined in this space. In fact, they're separated by a synthetic turf landscape zone. So that really allows the bowl high-speed zone to function kind of independently of the more technical kind of push-style straight lines that happen in the street course. You can also see on this bottom right, there's a really big spectator space, which makes it really comfortable if you want to just hang out, have a birthday party, watch your friends and family. And then there's an accessible pathway up to the bowl. Here's one that's a little bit more mixed. You'll see the transitional stuff on the right where it's a little more high speed. There's that pocket and the pyramid that you can fly over, and then the more technical section on the left that's more like a cityscape plaza where you can jump up and grind on those ledges and manual pads. There's stairs in the back, but these spaces are more connected, so that means you can use more than one of those terrain styles kind of in the same line. So today, think about what you want the park to feel like. Do you want it to feel like you have your own separated zone where transitional skateboarding happens, or do you want everything to be a little bit more mixed and all flowing? This one really leans into a more street type of terrain where there's things that you can snap your tail over, you grind that whole tech island in the middle. There's also stairs, handrails, hubbas, and the kicker, and even that hip in the back. So you'll notice that you have a lot of different lines that you can go through this skate park. And that means that a lot of people can use it at once. So you can see how many people are existing in that space. This was on the opening, so it's a little bit more crowded than usual. But you can see that none of those people are really running into each other, and that's kind of the goal. You'll also notice a lot of colors, not only in the concrete, but in the metal. I want you all to think about, what type of themes we want to lean into, what feels like Middlebury, whether it's stuff that relates to prominent buildings in town, school colors, town colors, what can we do to really make this feel like it has some identity and really represents, not just this area, but the community that lives here. On this one in Tennessee, we added some brick texture form liners, so it gave that type of aesthetic to match the local infrastructure, and then even made the rails look more like railroad tracks so that they had the same aesthetic as some of the materials downtown. This one in Fort Worth, Texas, was a community that really wanted to lean into a street plaza vibe, something that they can find downtown but wasn't downtown, was a safe place for them to skate and not get kicked out of. So we kept it really simple, had 2 planters in the middle connected by a manual pad, and then features on the edges similar that you would see, in a street spot. They actually feel really authentic because there's no radius at the bottom of those banks, so you have more room to kind of pop your tail, and you feel that little click as you go up them. That was something that they really felt was important to their space to make it feel like a unique street spot. But it is catered to all wheels, and you can really learn there too. This one's in Connecticut. We just built it last year, and they were interested in more than one type of skating here. So there's a bowl right in the middle and lanes that circulate around the outside. On the bottom kind of right, there's a raised pad, so that gives you some speed to hit the more transitional elements in the loop. And then the top lane is a lot more push generated. So think about, do you want to be going up and down banks, using elevation changes to generate speed, or do you want to go kind of on this top lane, sorry if you see my mouse, but where you can really just go slow, push, do technical tricks on the rail, manual pad, ledge, hip, stuff like that. Here's another one that's somewhere in the middle of these options that we've been looking at. This bowl is kind of separate, but it is tied in to all of these other areas. And we have, a little bit higher speed lane over here, and then a street lane here that's more wide open and spread out. You'll also see some of the, local art pieces that made their way into the concrete. And that's a really great way to, brand it with something really unique. This one's in Massachusetts, outside of Boston in Weymouth. One thing that I really like about this park is how all of the edge conditions came together with the plantings. They leaned into the native materials. And one thing that I noticed when I was on site today was that you have so many beautiful wildflowers and lots of natural landscape at that site. And I think that would be a really great thing to lean into if it's the direction that we all feel. So finding ways to support that and make the skate park really feel like it's baked into the site is going to help it feel right. This one's in California, and it has a lot more of a flat vibe to it. So it's very interpretive, and you have lots of room to kind of push around and get speed for some of these elements. So I would call this a less is more type of project. What's really nice about that, especially for a project like this, is that the cost of flat work is a lot cheaper than the cost of the transitional elements. So for something like this, where you have a really spread out footprint, you can get a little bit more for your money because a lot of it's flat work, and it just gives you a little bit more space between the elements. It can also be a good strategy to develop future phases by doing more flat work now and then adding more elements later. This one's a small size that is mostly street, but this pocket right in the foreground, along with the pump bump, really kind of up the flow in the skate park. So that's just a really simple way to, make sure that you're hitting those flowy notes, especially if it's something that you're really all inspired by. Here's a really kind of similar size skate park to this project, where you have kind of a street course with a stair set, a lot of tech elements in the middle, and then a bowl in the back that's also isolated. So as we're talking about, what we can do with budget right now, and then also what we might want to do with future budget as we continue to fundraise, we can think about adding on a bowl like that one as a phase 2 or an alternate. And then the rest of this skate park could possibly stay intact. We also have a really nice spectator space here, so allocating some funding and resources and space for something like this at an entrance is a really great option to consider, especially if it's important to you. When we talk about these elements, I'm going to ask you what your favorite features are. One of the things that I'd like you to consider too is what size and scale are these features? Do we want features that are small and technical that you can get, increasingly technical on as you progress? Or are we looking for progression in terms of size, where we want something that's bigger, where you can go faster, jump down further, bigger rails, bigger hubbas? We can go in different directions with the size and the scale of this, or maybe y'all want to just lean into a small and fun, casual scale of design. I included some renderings in this too, just so y'all can get a feel for similar size and scale projects. This one has a little bit of everything with definitely some transitional quarter pipes and a triangular flow. And then in the back, there's a half pipe. So obviously y'all already have that half pipe, so we can think about, how do we want to incorporate that into the future design? Does it want to move? How does it want to relate to the skate park? Or do we want to go a different direction completely? Let's see. And this is the last rendering I wanted to just show y'all. Again, I think this one is about 7,000 square feet. The budget that we're considering fundraising for right now is going to give us a skate park between 5,000 and 8,000 square feet. And depending on how fundraising goes, we can begin to phase that in, whether we do a certain amount now and then work toward a future phase, or just do as much as we can now. So once we have better traction on that, our approach will refine, and some of that is going to be dictated by the elements that are most important to y'all right now. I talked a little bit about theming. There's also some artistic elements that we can consider, like signage. This one is obviously really big and graphic. It paid some respects to the old skate park that was there previously that was called Rolling Magic, and this sign really brought it to life. We actually worked with a local sign manufacturer to build this, and so it's really fully baked into the community, and it's great to think about what are the local resources that we have here that we can really lean on and work with. We can also do more skatable identity elements like that T for Torrington on the left, which was inspired by a big T that was in front of their high school and recently got took down. Or that skatable spoon on the right, which is in Texas in a town that's well renowned for its fine dining. So, there's all kinds of directions we can go with this. We also are interested in incorporating some stormwater elements. You can see that kind of drain basin in the middle of a skate park is kind of a unique way to drain the water and make sure that it's environmentally sound, and then we don't have puddles in the skate park. And there's also a project in the Midwest that we worked on where we kind of leaned into the drainage pipe aesthetic, and then that water all went into a rain basin behind that quarter pipe, and we had a whole sign that talked about why we did that and what that does for the aquifer and the plant material in that basin. All right, so next I'll talk about what we've done so far for this project. We've started investigating kind of our first site analysis, which starts with where are we in the state and what's around us. So obviously on the left we have a few of the local skate parks that are somewhat in striking range of this area within 40 miles. So we have the Middlebury mini ramp, and then also the interim skate park as well. We also have the Bristol skate park that is it being built now?
It's conceptual design phase.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Design phase.
Yep. And then Bethel, Warren, and I can't read that other one from here.
Virgins.
Great. And then there's also, I know that I grew up in Connecticut and know that in this area you really tend to travel to different skate parks and all over this region in New England. So we included some others from kind of the broader state scale. So everything up in Burlington, like A-Dog and the Burton ramps, the Talent Indoor Skate Park, the DIYs up there, and then even some further south. So we want to hear which of these skate parks you're all inspired by, which you spend a lot of time at, and why. What about these skate parks that surround this area make you all enjoy the facility more, and what do you want to bring here that maybe they have in their skate park, and then otherwise what do you want to bring here that maybe they don't have. So part of this exercise is saying what can we do here that can complement all of the other terrains that we have, all of the other kind of themes and just generally features. So I'm interested if we want to lean in more to some of the terrains that surround, or if we want to go a different direction to give something unique to this community, and in what way. Just to kind of hone in a little bit more, this is just kind of a town map that shows where the skate park is going to be, and I'm assuming y'all are all familiar with where the mini ramp sits. So that is the same site that we'll be doing the skate park at. Obviously there's great proximity to all of the other elements in that park, as well as the college, the high school, and the town center. So we're thinking about how do you get to the park. Obviously there's parking at the site, so we know a lot of people from these areas can drive there. I did spend a little bit of time on site today, and this is just a really broad overlook at kind of what's going on out there, the existing mini ramp, the existing sheds. There's the wooded area that includes a wetland, so we'll have to respect the boundary of the wetland. We'll also have to consider the drainage on site, not just from the skate park itself, but the drainage that comes onto our site and how we're going to strategically deal with that water. Making sure the water is going to go in the right places is going to be one of the most critical elements of this project. And, you know, not only from like an engineering and, you know, legislative perspective, but everyone wants this skate park to last. So that's not just the concrete itself, it's all of the berming around the skate park, making sure there's not erosion, making sure that other properties aren't getting flooded out. So we're really taking note of all of those things. We're also looking at all of the edge conditions. So there's a lot of land uses adjacent to our space, like the parking lot, which is convenient and is going to give us access, but also the pool that has a fence and we'll want to have a buffer from, the sports fields that we'll want to have a buffer from, and then obviously the woods and wetlands. So here are some skate park examples that I think are similar in size and scale, and some of these you've already seen, and some of them you'll see on the boards later. But we're in that like 5,000 to 7,000 square foot range. So these are what I think are the most relatable to what we could get. And you can again see some have bowls that are in the middle, some have bowls that are on the end that can just be added on later. Some have more transitional elements that are baked into them, like the bottom left version that has the open half pipe. And then some don't have transition at all. So we can go in any of these directions and just make sure we're prioritizing what means the most to the community here. So I'll touch on the schedule a little bit. And I know I already mentioned this, but right now we're in the project initiation and community engagement process. We're in the concept design process. We've already done project initiation and everything that you all have already seen. After we wrap up that 3-meeting series, we're going to concurrently run some of the fundraising and the construction documents at the same time. And that will allow us to, you know, continue moving the project, but also really dig into fundraising. And then the end of the schedule is a little more in flux and is quite dependent on the fundraising, as well as some of that detailed design based on, you know, all of our targets. So the concept design process is fully intact and we'll be able to continue. And then past that, we'll be able to update you as we get through fundraising. Uh-oh. Here we go. Okay, so the reason y'all are all here today, we want to get your input. The way we're going to do that is first through a dotmocracy exercise. So in a few minutes, I'm going to have us all kind of break down and just circulate around all of the boards that are in that room. I want you to take a look at all of the example terrain that we've shown in forms of features. We have 2 boards that are specifically features, and then 2 boards that are specifically parks, one renders, one built parks. And you're gonna get to put stickers on those features that are most inspiring to you. So I'll be handing you the stickers, and then I want you to use those, you know, effectively so that, you know, all of the things that you think are really important get highlighted for our team. Next, after about 10 to 15 minutes of everyone adjusting to all of those options, we're gonna break out into 4 groups where we're gonna do a design charrette that looks like this kind of top left photo. I'm gonna ask you to use, sorry, these are all of the boards. I'm gonna ask you to use a plot of the site and then also some scaled templates to essentially design what skate park you are inspired to have here. It doesn't have to be perfect. What I want to know is what features are most important to you. What type of skate park do you really want here? Whether it's full of transition, maybe it's full of street elements, maybe it's something really wide open, spread out, less is more. Really lean into everything that you've seen and skated yourself, everything I've talked about today, and what's most important to you. And I'm going to ask each of these 4 teams to work together and collaborate to figure out, what they think is best for, with their priorities personally, but also for the community as a whole, as everyone kind of puts their heads together. We've also included a whole sheet of park examples. So these are, fully designed and built parks that you can use for reference and cut up, whether it's a full park, just sections of a park, or even just a feature. But what's really great about these is that you can see how close features are together. So that will give you some idea of, what works, how close can we put a bank to a ledge, how close can we, how long after you drop in do you want it before you hit another wall. So you can use these examples to kind of guide that off of. And also, you can use these to understand what this looks like from the top down. So we're looking at this in plan view, like you're in a helicopter above the site. And I'll walk each group through kind of what all of these things mean. But generally, if these elements have an arrow next to it, it means it's a flat bank. And if they have a T next to it, it means it's a radial transition, a quarter pipe. So y'all can kind of lean into whichever direction that you'd like. And if you have any questions about that, just let me know and we can work through this. And this exercise is also important because next meeting, when I bring back concepts, you're going to want to understand what it all means. So this is also about, getting familiar with how we all do this on the design side. And that way you can better assess, is this really what you want based on all of the kind of three-dimensional things that you've seen, and then these kind of same templates, and working with them with your hands. So we brought some scissors, we brought some glue. It could get a little messy, but I really encourage you to just jump in and start cutting stuff up and doing the best that you can. All right.
And these are to scale too, these ones?
They're all to scale. Yep. They're all 20 scale, and I did also bring an engineering scale, so I'll show each group kind of how that works. And that way, if you want to spot check anything, we can work through that too. But just keep it loose and just think about, what are the things that you want, what are the creative ideas that you have, and the visions that you have for this park. After that exercise, I'll leave this survey up. There's going to be an online survey that is live for 2 weeks. And I encourage anyone that's not able to make it here tonight to fill out the survey so they can give the same input that you are all giving here tonight. And I encourage you all to fill it out as well when you go home. I know that there's definitely things that you could think of later and you say, shoot, like I should have mentioned that. And this is your opportunity to do that. All right. So yeah, with that, let's all break down and spend some time checking out those boards.
Like, oh, I can just wash out and figure it
All right,
out.
we're gonna start presenting.
To save my life.
Just start pumping. That ramp is great to pump. I'm going there after this meeting. Sorry, that was really loud. Yeah, Tess, you gotta pitch
All
this
right,
one.
so this group is gonna present first.
I can
They're
help
gonna
you
tell
out.
us
You can do the
one,
talking.
what their design
I'll
is,
keep my mouth
the
shut.
things that are most important to them, any thematic ideas that they've talked about that really feel like Middlebury, and anything else that they think is really important to include.
That's good.
Alright, so basically what we did is we broke this down into two sections somewhat. The top section is more of your street course, but it's going to be geared towards skaters like me who haven't been on the board in 20 years, and younger skaters learning. So everything will be a little smaller. You'll have the opportunity to do some more technical learning, but also just have fun and not worry about necessarily getting hurt or hurt as bad. The second section, you'll have, so basically we have some transitions, some quarter pipes here. We've got a, what do we call it? I don't want to say the D word.
Just a kicker to kicker.
There's a kicker to kicker, but in the middle of the kicker, so basically it's two, and it'll have an M for Middlebury.
Yeah.
So thought it was a pretty cool idea. You'll just have your manual pad with a higher ledge over there for grinding. You'll have a smaller stair set with a step up or Euro gap. You'll have a down rail. You'll have a down ledge. You'll have a bank that'll go down.
Little flat rail here.
Oh, flat rail there. Yep. So you'll have a down bank next to your stair set, and then this side will just be a small quarter pipe transition, only like 3 foot high. On this side, you'll have your higher, maybe 6 foot corner bowl. Not a full bowl, just transition enough to kind of have that flowiness of it. And then you'll have some bigger features there. Maybe something, these will be like a 2 or 3 stair. This will be something like a 5 or 6, something a little bit bigger for when you want to take some risks. Banks, again, going down. This will bring you down to your trapezoid / hip area. And then quarter pipe in the middle of these two banks, so you have the option for some gaps. But again, nothing too big that is scary, but enough to be able to learn, progress, and kind of move your way along the park. And we thought the M for Middlebury in that gap would be really cool, especially any kind of photos, any kind of things like that. Would just be promoting the town and promoting what awesome things we can do.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. That's great. All right, group number 2.
I can get
Oh,
us
that's
that.
Slugger.
We gotta cut up the.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of. We roll it the other way.
You want it this way? Which way do you want it?
Actually, let's go the other way so it's on the top. This makes sense. Okay, we're working along some similar lines here, but we.
I hold it too.
Like
There
we
you go.
kind of built our park having the current like mini ramp kind of at the top and then flowing down into also like put like a, I think we decided maybe like a 3 stair or 4 stair with a down rail as well. And then kind of just bringing that down into like another little manual pad with like a higher ledge to grind was also what we were thinking. And kind of breaking this down into like 2 spaces, so we're up at like the top of the mini ramp, you'd have a little bit more like usable skate space for just like kind of kids like learning how to push, like, you know, people playing skate. And then kind of from down into here, you'd also just have like a little hip corner, and then like kind of just like a little bit more like lower transition even, just to kind of like push people back out into like more skatable space down here. We'd have space for like more flat rails being put in and stuff too. But that's just kind of the flow we're thinking, along just kind of everything moving down a little bit, so you'd be able to kind of like ollie back up these banks, but you'd have like kind of a downward flow going down, a couple of like gaps here as well. And like we were kind of thinking more of like that 60-40 split, leaning a little bit more towards like a plaza style park, and just like more like skatable park elements, because there's not really like anywhere you can even skate like downtown, so we don't really have any of those elements anywhere. It's all very like DIY pretty much. So that's kind of what we were thinking.
Great.
This one isn't totally different, but this is a bit of a, what do you call it, the platform. It's raised, so maybe about half the part. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, that's over here.
Yeah.
This is, I'm looking at it upside down. So over here, this upper deck this is a bowl that this would be flat, and then you could flow into either here. Stairs go down to this level. I don't know if those pyramid structures totally work, but this whole side would be a bit of a drop-in thing, and maybe an extension on this side with more speed for that element. And then there'd be some kind of like hip over here, which would create some kind of flow. But then also there would be like a divide, so some skaters could work the park over here and some over here if it was crowded, or in this direction or in this direction. So there might still be some decent flow. But also the bowl, potentially on how big it could be a double level bowl, right, where there's like a shallower drop inside and then a carvable round bowl section, which may not have tiles and the revert, so kids could learn over here just this drop-in element, getting used to speed carving in a bowl without necessarily having to drop in on something bigger, but then be able to build up that skill level. Did I miss anything? But basically, I think it is important to have all of these like elements that make it so skaters who are really passionate and skilled can enjoy coming to the park and will mission here and, you know, teach a clinic and just enjoy ripping it. But also for like local kids who, we don't have a lot of skaters in this town, almost none, that can even like stand on a skateboard. So just making some of the elements have like new accessibility, where even have some of these elements have some kind of roll in, and also less ankle iron, more coping.
Nice. All right, great job, y'all. That was awesome. A couple of the notes that I'm hearing is that there is a need for a lot of progression. Street elements are like seemingly first thing because there is a lot of transition. There's the mini ramp that we can complement, figure out how to still use that, maybe move that, figure out how it works with all of the elements we're talking about. I'm hearing round rails, coping instead of flat plate, which I like hearing because that's something that I also notice is pretty popular around here. And then did I roll my eyes like that? And then the other thing is that kicker to kicker, which sounds like a really great thematic element. I heard a lot of people talking about kickers, and then also pyramids, things that you can fly over, but also having tons of space for run up, and then ways that we can work from zero onward for progression so that everyone can use this space. That's a ton of information for me to come back to y'all with some concepts that'll have all of these ideas incorporated, and we can start to, not just have all these on the table, but also start to go certain directions that lean into what fits the best based on all of these things we've talked about. One last thing that I want to ask you all about, and maybe one answer from each group if you have one, if there's any like color or just other theme other than the M that we really feel like could be unique, not necessarily to skate parks, but to this area. Do you want to start, Jill?
I think we were talking about marble is a big thing
Marble.
here.
Okay,
And I
awesome.
know it's maybe too soft to be like a grindable surface.
Manchester marble did not.
Yeah, it doesn't last long.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll
But
trip.
if you could incorporate it somehow thematically.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more of a ledge base.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Something
more
like
like the brick on that hub.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
For granite too.
And granite.
Granite is definitely an option.
Granite gap or something.
Okay,
We're having like two complementary.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have to look far for inspiration. Look,
There it
look
is.
right out here.
I saw a lot of stone today.
Yeah.
That's
Cool.
what like the entire town looks
What
like.
about colors? There was a lot of
Really
orange at the park
cohesive
today.
to
Like
it,
the
chunks
school
of
maybe has orange colors. Is that something that you guys relate to? Or is there is it not a priority?
Just like colors.
Like colors that you feel like are a good fit?
I mean, there's the mural at the elementary school, which that's what I think of, but I don't know.
Okay.
Is there
I'm not
specific
allowed
town
to.
color?
It's like navy blue.
I was gonna say like
Yeah,
the high school's
college
orange
has
and the
their
town
kind of
college is blue.
blue.
Okay.
I think the town has a similar blue.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, blue and orange complement well too. That's always
Yeah, Mary Hogan has
cool.
Otters.
Yeah.
middle school is
Okay.
orange. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Little otter sculpture,
Well, that sounds
little
awesome.
piece of marble.
I mean, will we incorporate the otters from our logo? That'd be kind of cool.
Otter Creek, that's where the otter comes from.
Okay. Right.
There's lots of businesses in town that start with otter.
Yeah.
It's like-
Okay.
Also, I think it'd be cool, like, if we could loop in someone from, like, the Abenaki community here, or, like, some indigenous community here. I don't, like, know, I'm curious if anyone does, but, like, even if that's to do with, like, something with the naming of the park or something, or some more artistic mural or something, I don't know. It'd be cool to, like, think about, or just to, like...
Okay, you might need to spell that for me, but yeah.
Sure,
that's
yeah.
great. Okay, cool.
A-B-E-N-A-K-I.
One more time.
A-B-E-N-A-K-I. Sorry.
Cool. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, and I can try and find people, too.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't wanna.
All right, y'all. Well, the last thing that I just want to make sure is on your radar is that on the back of the agenda is the feedback survey. It's pretty quick. It's just simple. If y'all can make sure you fill that out before you head out, that would be great. And then make sure you get a screenshot of or a picture of that QR code so we can pass that around. I know y'all will push it through social media. But yeah, thanks everyone for participating. This was fun.
Thank you so much.